Coming up, actor Timothy Omundson joins Illeana in just a moment.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies.
And now, it's the I Blame Dennis Hopper podcast, starring Illeana Douglas. Eavesdrop with Illeana as she interviews Hollywood's most prominent players about filmmaking, acting, and what really happens on the set of your favorite flicks and TV shows.
Hi, everyone. I'm Illeana Douglas. Welcome to the I Blame Dennis Hopper podcast. I'm here with Tamara Berg,
Hi, everybody.
lovely co-host. How are you?
Hi.
Sun is
I'm
finally
good.
out.
I know,
Here
it's
in
beautiful.
sunny California.
Yeah.
I'm excited about our guests. Well, we have a couple guests coming up.
I know.
And thanks again, everyone, for the nice comments and watching the show and tweeting us
Yes.
about us and the great response to Penelope Ann Miller.
Yes, we've gotten
Alfred
some
Molina, some of the
really
others.
wonderful guests and wonderful comments from the
Yes.
audience, which has been really nice. Also, I would like to mention, if anybody has questions about, we obviously don't know who our guests are a lot in advance of
Yes.
when they come in, but, maybe there's a general question that some of our audience members are wondering and going, I wonder what happens here in Heather and Yon, or even a specific question for you
Right.
would be great. So you can find us on Facebook, you can tweet us, you can go to the website, illeanaspodcast.com. You can find us all sorts of ways. So
That's
if
true.
you do have any of that, you can do it that way.
Absolutely.
So
Would love that.
Illeana,
Yes, dear.
you are a storyteller. You are a brilliant, if I may
Well,
say,
thank you.
storyteller.
goodness.
Don't be modest, because you really are. It's the truth, both in real life and in the book. And so I wanted to know, because I remember being a child and having an uncle who was an incredible storyteller. Sitting around at the dinner table, and I just remember sort of, gazing at him and going, oh my gosh, I love that. I want to be a good storyteller.
Yes.
So how did you become such a good storyteller?
I think that's exactly it. Well, two things. My mom's side of the family are Italian, and I think Italians, their sense of rhythm and timing
Yeah.
is always very colorful, and I think I have a lot of that. But again, when I was a kid, and I wrote about this in the book, my grandfather, we had to sit at the kids' table, and all the really exciting, glamorous people were at the big grown-ups table, and they'd be telling their stories. And I said to my grandfather, I wanted to sit at the big table, and he said, when you're interesting, you can sit at the big table. So I was like, I vowed to be interesting. And so I think I always was a natural storyteller, colorful, but I think that I honed the craft because I wanted to impress him. And so therefore then you start reading and you become a little bit more verbal. You can't just be, when you're a kid, your stories are 2 sentences. I saw the cat and it was stuck in the tree. It's like, okay, that's
The end.
At the end, so you gotta but you say, okay, well, it has an impact. But to me, a good story has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Okay.
And that's what I tried to do in the book. In fact, this was my lick because I didn't want to do I love to read people's autobiographies, but it's like it gets into, and then I won my Oscar, and then I did this,
And then this, and then this, and then
and
this, yeah.
that to me is the failing of the book. That the first half is always more interesting than the second half, and I thought, what I would like to do is tell great stories with a beginning, middle, and an end, and hopefully something I learned from the experience. And then that way also I could write more books because I have more stories.
Right.
Like, for instance, I tell a great story, what happened on the set of Cape Fear, but there were other things that happened on the set that I could, tell in a subsequent book.
So when these, because you have sort of extraordinary experiences happen to you
all
the time.
I think
Okay, well, so let's say everyone does.
yes.
I think you have extraordinary ones, but let's say everyone does. So do you go through life and, whatever, have a car accident with that person,
Yes.
and then as it's over, do you like not rewrite it in terms of making it fiction, but like, do you put a structure to the story that may not have been there originally, or do you just tell things linearly?
When a relationship starts to go awry, my positive spin is this is going to be a great anecdote. So anytime I try to think, well, anytime something goes horribly awry,
yes,
it's going to start to become an anecdote or a good story. So I try to look at it. That way. But to me, yes, I'm always forming a narrative in my head. But I did that when I was a little kid. If I saw a movie, I was, I would be acting out the film.
Right.
But I always had a natural bent towards storytelling. I remember one of the first things I did when we had to read the book The Pearl, and I got people in my class. I got a girl to be the pearl and someone to be the pearl diver. I know. I have photos of that, by the way. But, I was
Fantastic.
recreating and staging things with my friends. Like, so if we had photography class, like the cover of my book, that was from my photography class. And I'd get my friends, and one thing I did, I don't know why, but I recreated a car accident. That was I would recreate things, that were, parts of. Am I telling too much? It's
No.
too much crazy. But I was fascinated by it, and so I recreated like a car accident, and I placed in the frame a picture of James Dean. I don't know, like
Wow.
14. This is like what I'm. So I'm creating movie images. I'm telling a story even with one photograph. But I always had that desire to do that, to create a narrative, and I don't know where that comes from.
Well, and so then you become an actress, and now you're telling other people's stories. I know obviously you write and have created your own things.
Yes.
But when you're telling someone else's story, how does that storytelling play in for you?
That for me is always an interesting thing, because sometimes I have one movie going on in my head, and the director and the other actors have a totally different movie. So I've certainly had the experience where I've worked with a director. Like, I had an experience many years ago working, he's now passed away, the lovely Wes Craven, where I had this whole, I got asked to do this part in this movie. And I had this whole concept, and I thought it was going to be very funny. And I got to the set, and he had a completely different take on what I was supposed to do, and it was very serious. And I was shocked. I was like, I had this whole narrative and what I was going to do, and I just was like, okay. But so that, to me, you always have to be aligned with a director that you are telling the same story.
Right.
But I also like, I like to be, part of the reason I got into show business is just the ability to sit on a set and tell stories, which is something that again, when I was on the set of Being There when I was a kid and watching my grandfather and Peter Sellers and Jack Warden tell stories, I just thought, this is the greatest gig in the universe. Like, you get to act in a movie, and then you have your own little private world where all these movie stars that you love are telling stories. So, I thought that was sort of part of the skill of being an actor.
Yeah.
Is that you had to be a good storyteller. And I know when I was doing Goodfellas, and this was all the training from my grandfather, who was always, coaching me about...
Nice.
about speaking better and not mumbling and things like that. And that skill would come in handy, later on. As I said, when I was on Goodfellas and I write about the book, Marty would bring me over and tell Bob the story about Raging Bullwinkle, or, so something that had occurred to me. And that was always that was much scarier than
actually
than
doing
acting
your
with
job.
trying to make Joe Pesci laugh. Was one of the hardest things.
Oh my
Anyway,
gosh.
well, I'm
Let's
so
bring in
excited
our
to
guest. Yes.
have Timothy Omundson, who has appeared in many things, among them Deadwood, Jericho, American Housewife, musical comedy fairy tale Gallivant, and he just
so much fun.
he's going to be playing God on Fox's Lucifer. That's a you can't beat that. And you're born.
God, right?
You are born to play in all of these period pieces. But welcome, please,
Hi.
Timothy Omundson.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for being here.
Happy to going this way. Happy to be here and being helpful.
What is it like? It's playing God. What's it like to play God?
It was very satisfying. It felt like I finally had a role where
Nailed
they
it.
got me. Boom. The silly thing about this, not silly, but super fun thing as an actor. Come on, God, pretty good. I guess president would be pretty good, or king. Well, I've done one of
I
those.
think God is pretty
God's
much
pretty good.
You and George Burns.
This one, this God had a West Texas accent. Don't ask me why.
Okay.
Well, you could ask me why. No, it's the character. Yeah, what are you gonna do? So,
said-
would you like to play God? Sure. Would you like to play him with West Texas accent? Hell yes.
Yeah.
So was Candy.
Is now was this a drama or a comedy?
It's a dramedy.
A dramedy.
A dramedy. It's the show Lucifer on the Fox Broadcasting Network.
Yes.
Which I have to say, I'd never seen it. Mm-hmm. I don't have a lot of time with children and all that. Mm-hmm. But of course, I watched several episodes before I did the job because I've been on shows where people haven't watched the show when you show up. And
We were just talking about that. I said, when you have the tone wrong.
come on, man, it's the internet's there now. It's anything is available. Dude, don't be
We're all
lazy.
busy. We've got busy lives.
So I showed up, and actually, I was like, I really liked it. Tom Ellis is the lead. Mm-hmm. Lovely fellow. Like, and do you know Rusty Schwimmer? Amazing actress. I would think she's right up your alley. A friend of mine had just done the show, and I asked her when the offer came in, and she's like, "Go! You will love it. You will love them, top to bottom. Every person on that cast and crew, just lovely. Happy to be there. No attitude. They're all beautiful and handsome, and by all rights could be total dicks, but they were just lovely. So."
Nice.
And you shoot it on the Fox lot?
No, we shot that in Vancouver because why
What?
would I shoot in this country?
No, why?
I've spent the last
Okay, you
10
had
years.
me till
Right.
then. I thought we were going to talk about the Fox lot and have fun, all the different lots. No, Vancouver.
Vancouver.
Were
where I
you
spent
at
8 years.
Were you at the Slutton?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Of course.
Second guest who
Look.
has made a Slutton
Look,
reference.
I walk in.
Love it.
I pull up to the Slutton, and Mark, the doorman, goes,
Explain what the Slutton is. Sorry for
Okay,
interrupting.
okay.
you,
For
just because
people who
who
have
may
not
have heard them.
heard this show, we all make references. Chris Noth, you're now the second, myself, to the hotel where when you do any show in entertainment, they put you, which is the Sutton in Vancouver, and there's one in Toronto also. So go ahead.
I walk into the Sutton, and Mark, the doorman, goes, "Tim, how's the family?" That's how much I've been at the Sutton.
Wow.
Like,
That
it's-
is-
like my family's lived there with me at times.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
yes, I spent 8 years doing psych
Psych,
there.
yeah.
So
Oh.
I know Les Slotins very well. Anyway, so
Very
Lucifer,
good.
though, yeah, comedy
Yes.
drama thing. I had this is to put the show in context. I had a question about the character, and it's like a minor detail. Like, and I went to the writer of the show. I'm like, am I overthinking this one thing? Because we're talking about time and the beginning of time, and you say moment, but am I overthinking it? And he goes, yeah, it's the devil in L.A. solving crimes. So. Might be overthinking it a bit. However, you're absolutely right. So good point. I missed that one. But it's a show that doesn't take itself too seriously. And,
Yes.
there you
Well,
go.
the devil is back in vogue. We had another guest, Bobcat Goldthwait, and he was working on a devil show, and I did directed a short about the devil years ago, and which seems very au courant. The devil is obsolete.
It's the
because-
times. Oh, right. In that time, yes.
Yeah, because there's so much evil that the devil's like, okay, there's nothing for me to do anymore.
Why am I here?
So he's solving crimes. I love it.
Yeah. But, and the other fun thing is all about this show's about his daddy issues. Because dad kicked him out. It
Yeah.
really is rather funny.
That's great.
So we get to work out our father son issues.
Now, big question: Do you believe in the devil?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you believe in God?
Yeah.
it's getting tense. I'm not going to ask if you believe or don't believe. We'll see what happens. Okay, so always start. Although I took a left turn, which is I love to do, but
Keeps us on our toes.
but what is the first movie you saw, and who took you to see it, and what was it called?
The first movie I really remember seeing was actually on television. Does that count?
Yes.
Yeah.
There are no rules.
Okay.
No, get off. Get off.
Sorry.
I blame Dennis Hopper.
And vamp
Dennis
for the next
Hopper is
45 minutes.
spinning in his grave.
It was The Thin Man.
Ooh,
William
good
Powell
one.
Murder-Loy. And I remember it because, I was very young. I went to kiss my dad goodnight, and it must have been a weekend. And he said, "You know what? You can stay up. You can watch this movie with me." And it was really it set the course right there with a style of comedy that I like, and just my affinity for old Hollywood and all that. And I named my daughter Nora.
Aww.
Actually. So people are like, "Oh, that's so sweet." I'm like, well, she's named after a classic alcoholic. So
No, they were fun alcoholics.
they were fantastic. They were the good kind of alcoholics.
Yes, they were
They could
classy.
hold their liquor and solve a crime.
You know what's interesting about The Thin Man, which is William Powell and Myrna Loy, and Myrna Loy, I think, sort of set a tone for like the perfect wife in a sense. She's fun, she's game. You know, they're both game, but she sort of steals the movie for me.
In very many ways, on equal footing with him.
Yes.
And that was very unusual for that.
Yeah.
time, certainly.
I
It's
think-
unusual for now.
No, I mean, I think they were perfectly cast together, and that's why those movies hold up. Is that their chemistry
Absolutely.
together. Have you ever done a movie that's in that vein? Because they don't really make them that way. I mean, there was sort of Moonlighting was, I guess, in that vein, but
No, it's too. No. Yes, ma'am,
the
sure.
charming alcoholic has
Although
gone
there
out of
is
fashion.
there's a live stage show that I'm involved with. It's a podcast called Thrilling Adventure Hour. Mm-hmm. You know, it was going for about 10 years, and they would do it live at Largo.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful theater in L.A.
Yes.
And it was this cast of characters, cast of regular players called the Work Choose Players, and they would bring in special guest stars, and I sort of became a friend of the show because it's old timey radio.
Love it.
There was a live band. Everyone would dress up, and it was serialized, but it's a little off. So there's a Western, but it's Sparks, Nevada, Marshall on Mars, and
Right.
there was a Thin Man-esque piece called Beyond Belief that stars Padgett Brewster and Paul F. Tompkin, and they're essentially Nick and Nora. They
Right.
are classic alcoholics who solve crime and see ghosts, but. So I got to be involved with that and do some of those episodes, and it's just we were all essentially doing The Thin Man.
Yes.
So I kind of have been in that.
Those are fun. My grandfather, Melvin Douglas, used to do the Lux Radio Hour,
Sure.
so it's in that vein. So sometimes you'd be involved in a film, for instance, A Woman's Face with Joan Crawford, and then they would go to Lux Theater and they'd do 1 hour of it. It was amazing, all live. Or they'd come on and joke around, and they're really hysterical in front of a live audience.
Wow.
Yeah, they're wonderful. Those old, if you
Yeah.
can get a chance to see them. Now, you grew up in Seattle.
I did.
And what other kind of movie did you go to the movies? What kind of
did.
movies were you seeing?
I think the first movie I remember as a kid was Close Encounters of the Third Kind. There was a wedding shower going on at my house, and so they kicked all the men out. And I remember getting in the station wagon with my dad, and at the time we didn't go to a lot of movies together. Which is expensive, goddammit. And I remember driving into Seattle and seeing that movie, and just the expanse of that film, it blew my mind. I recently showed it to my kids because they're now 12 and 14, and one of my favorite things of being a parent of kids this age is showing them the movies, like sort of teaching them a little bit, just like
Right.
exposing them this. My wife was like, "It's gonna be a movie, and they're gonna love it." They didn't care for it at all. They were just no. I was so disappointed.
That movie kills me. And Richard Dreyfuss, who's a friend, I mean, his performance in that movie, he's like a big kid.
Yeah.
I think that's my favorite Steven Spielberg film. I think
Certainly
it is.
up there, yeah.
It just because the meaning of it, and I don't know. I think Dreyfus is just incredible. But this quest of, of looking for something and wanting something, and how he leaves his family at the end. It's very sad.
The analogy of Hollywood, right? Of like just that constant drive of everyone thinks I'm crazy, but I know it's out there, and I'll either go insane or I'll find it. And
is that what you think your concept of acting is? Because it must be. Nobody believes when you first tell people you can be an actor. Has anyone? I'd love to know if any. There wasn't one person who was like, "Oh, you're gonna make it as an actor." And like, even now, people are like, why do you continue on? But
I was really fortunate in that I got the bug when 7th grade drama class.
Yes.
Like that was it. I discovered that and like this one, and he really quickly after that started taking classes at Seattle Children's Theater and really sort of going, this is what I want to do. And by 16, that was it. And I said to my dad, I very distinctly remember having this conversation, walking in his bedroom going, "Give me an actor. Because if you have a talent, you don't use it, then you don't say I have a talent."
Yeah.
And he went, "Okay."
Wow.
And my dad is Eisenhower, Depression era generation. He at the time was like essentially a bean counter. Like he just worked with numbers. And as I got to know him really when I left home, is when he and I sort of got closer, as often happens, I realized he was a frustrated jazz musician. Like he wanted to be a singer in a big band. And so and I had success in school plays and stuff, and you could tell that it was obviously something that I had a talent for, if I can be so bold. And they supported me lock, stock, and barrel. I went to college. I mean, I got a degree. I know that was important to them, but my mom would always talk about, "You got to have the backup plan, and I went, I have zero other skills.
Yeah.
So thank God it worked out.
No, I know. But that's important that they supported you, or because if you don't, for people out there who go, "Well, no one's supporting me," you have to I think you have to be your own sort of self-supporter.
Yeah.
I mean, or as I write about in my book, I had imaginary supporters like Richard Dreyfuss, and because they kept me going, because I was like, I fantasized that one day I would become friends with Richard Dreyfuss, and then one day you're on a set and you're cast in a movie with Richard Dreyfuss, and you're like, is this crazy, or did I make this? Do you manifest things? Do you have to everything's like that in your life where you're just like, okay, this is weird, this is what I was doing in my bedroom?
No, it and you have those moments. Okay, so when I was 5 years old, we took the family trip. We loaded up the truckster and went to Disneyland. Drove down from Seattle, and I remember Universal Studios better than I remember Disneyland. But we were on the tram, and there's a part, if you've taken the tour, the tram comes down the hill, and it's where the sound stages are. And we passed some trailers, and I remember seeing everyone walking around the lot going, I don't know what's going on over there, but I want to be over there.
Right.
Very vivid memory. And I think my second job was a show called Sequest, shot on the Universal lot. The stage was right by the tram turn, and I walk out of my little trailer, my tiny little trailer, and walk towards the stage, and a tram goes past. I heard I saw a Sequest on the lot, and I just chills went through, and I was like,
wow,
oh, I'm here.
Yeah.
This is what. Even if it doesn't work, I've had this moment.
Yes.
And that will fuel it. That'll fuel a decade.
Exactly. It sustains you. Yeah, that's what we were saying at the beginning, is I feel things like that happen all the time. It's just that, we're so busy on our phones or something, we're not really aware of what the universe is telling us. Now, one thing I thought was could be slightly comic is that when you were in school, you won the Jack Nicholson Award.
Yeah.
That's not for imitating Jack Nicholson?
No, that was.
What is it? Because he was from. I thought he was from New Jersey.
I guess he went to SC or spent some time at SC or used to drink at SC. I don't know what. Or dated a girl from SC.
Yes.
But he set up a scholarship fund through USC School of Theater.
I never knew that.
Ever? Wow. No, because it's one of those. That's the best kind of charity. And my senior year, I won his award, and I think it was like, it was a $1,000 like $500 something like it, or no, it was money towards school. It was a scholarship towards school, and I was doing Faust at the time, and there was talk that he was going to come to the theater and see the show.
Yes.
He didn't make it. His lawyer came, who's still a very nice man, but presented me with the the handshake.
Aw.
Nice.
And I've never met him. I've never worked with him, but I hope to someday, just so I can say, you helped me get through school.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
Do you have a certificate or anything?
No, just it's just in the bio. That's it.
Just, you gotta. I mean, we're in
I know, I should make
Hollywood.
something.
Go get a cheap trophy and just so you can, if you see him,
Jack Nicklaus reciprocant.
just so you can show it to him. Now, I thought this was funny. You got your career, you got your SAG card because of Seinfeld and Larry David.
I did.
Now, this was did you get the job and then lie? Did you have? How does this come about?
No, it was good old-fashioned Taft-Hartley. Like, I went in the room, they knew I didn't have my SAG card.
Oh, so they knew. Okay.
Yeah, for those who don't know, and certainly back when, I
yes.
was starting
No,
out.
it's just.
To get someone to Taft-Hartley, which means it
Yes.
costs them money
I
to
know.
hire you, they'd rather give their left arm or their child's left arm. So it was really hard to get a job that way. And to this day, I don't know what I did. It was like 3 lines. Still, they Taft-Hartley me for 3 lines. But went in, and Larry David, or someone said to Larry, do you want to explain the scene? Because, they just give you the lines. They don't
Oh
give
my
the
God, I'm
script.
already terrified. Hey, how many people are in the room when you go in?
5.
Oh, okay, so that's not too bad.
Yeah, again, it's guest spot, but still, it's like...
When I met on Seinfeld, there was literally, I think there was 13 people in the room.
Oh.
Jesus.
Yeah, but we're not talking
I
about
may have blocked it out of my...
because 5 sounds like reasonable.
Right.
But anyway,
Yeah,
so I interrupt. Are you on the Radford lot?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah, I'm at
Radford,
the Radford lot,
is
and,
where they shot Seinfeld. And you walk in the room.
Walk in the room, and they say, do you want to explain the scene to him? And I can remember it was Larry or it was Tom Ciceros, and the director goes, no, just let him see it do it. So the lines were, don't have one. Yes, John Cheever, Dad, you and John Cheever. That's it.
Yeah.
And whatever I did was funnier than the redheaded guy before me. And so I get, like, well, I get the job. Great.
Yeah.
A SAG card, insurance of life. Amazing. I get to set, and I'm like, well, they'll explain it to me there. Never been on a soundstage before. Had no idea what I was doing. And quickly realized I'm the last person they have time to talk to.
Right.
So
Right.
just no seat in my pants. And the gentleman playing my dad, he was playing it as an a-hole. So I'm like, I'll be like him. And they didn't fire me,
Right.
and I got to keep the check and everything.
Oh my God.
Woohoo!
And did they laugh when you were on set? Because it's pretty intimidating. I worked on Seinfeld one of the last 10 episodes, and I was
Wow.
well known at the time. And when I had to sit in the diner, in the
Oh.
booth, I was like, I was shaking. It's probably the worst acting I've ever done. I was very, very intimidated.
It's one of the, when
It's
you
surreal.
know, but also I was early on in the show, and I didn't watch the show that much. So I think
see, I
when
was
you
obsessed
go
with
in
it.
knowing it's such a big deal,
Yeah.
then it's horrible. And
It's the pressure
were-
on pressure on
oh
pressure.
my God.
Yeah.
And Jason Alexander to this day will always hold a special place in my heart. Because he was nice. They were all very nice to me.
Everyone was
And
wonderful.
my dad was down visiting me a few years later, and I ran into Jason in the parking lot of Canner's. Mm-hmm. And he's like, Alexander, Mr. Alexander, hi. And it's my dad, and it reminded him who I was. And he said to my dad, "You got a very talented son there, John."
Aw.
And I have seen Jason since, and I always remind him that I love you, right?
Yeah.
I will do anything for you because
Wow.
you basically remind you gave that enthusiasm to my dad of like you made the right move and letting him do this.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah,
Affirmed your dad's
were
choice to help
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
they were great, and that was a. Do you watch yourself on reruns?
It's really painful. I do. It's
You know, I have a season pass or whatever.
I'm Carrot Girl, so people and sometimes in the syndication, I think they clipped mine, so it's like, why are you wearing that? Why are you dark? Or if you come in, late, it's because I played a girl who wore too much tan makeup.
I have like a season pass to record anything that you're on my
so you've
TiVo.
seen
So,
it.
but the funny thing is that Seinfeld comes up about every third week.
Thank you.
But you're not actually on it. It's an episode, like, it's Kathy Griffin. It's not you.
I could be.
But the info says Illeana Douglas, but
so
it's Kathy
Red
Griffin.
hair.
I'm I'm replaceable with Kathy Griffin.
Apparently, which is so not true.
Now, working in Hollywood, so you get the Seinfeld, and then after that, or did you ever have any bad disaster auditions, or did things go pretty smoothly?
I had a horrific one last week.
You did? Oh
Oh,
my God, tell me.
man.
I've
Do
had so
tell.
many. My just so you have confidence. Alan Parker, the great Alan Parker, my hero when I was a kid. Shoot the Moon was one of my favorite films. Depicted, I was so related to that film. Fame, of course. And when I auditioned for him, absolutely convinced that I was going to get the part, he said, "Who sent you here?" and got up and left and started to make phone calls. And I was sitting on the couch going, and then I was like, he never told me to leave. So I was sitting, and then he was on the phone, and then he looked over like, why are you still here? And I was like, I think I'm going to go now.
Welcome to Hollywood.
That was Alan Park. So yes. And I've got others. So what was yours last week? I'm curious. Can you say what you auditioned for?
No.
Some pilot?
No, it was a pilot.
Some lousy pilot. It's pilot season.
pilot
here.
season.
It was
And they
actually-
say there are no seasons in L.A.
No, there's still
I
That's still-
I do.
the season of pain.
I do.
is what it's got.
Oh, God,
Award
so true.
season. We had plenty of seasons. So you
yeah,
have an
it
audition.
was actually
How
when
many
I-
people in the room?
Just the two, but
Oh
it's
my
the
God,
two
I
that
hate
matter.
you.
Well, it
I'm
was
always
early
like,
on in the process.
it's like a jury when I come in.
Oh no, but I had a horrible one then with
okay.
the 20 the other day. So, it was 8 pages of sides,
Oh, wow.
4 scenes, 8
Would you-
pages of signs,
How many-
wall to wall.
How much time did you have to work on the?
Like a day.
Oh, so you had
Yeah.
a day. Usually
I had a
it's
day at least.
Yeah.
And did what I think is some pretty good work. I was not unprepared. I
Right.
think I knew where the jokes were.
Yes.
And they didn't laugh once. It was all wall to wall jokes with this character. It did not even a courtesy chuckle. Not even in between scenes. That was great. Let's do the next one.
Yeah.
And when the first joke doesn't land, you immediately go into fight or flight.
Sure.
And it's like, oh shit, this is, oh my God, I'm dying here. I had just come off a rather successful series, dude. Like I've got some confidence in it.
Yes.
Oh God, and I'm immediately reduced to that,
Yeah.
18-year-old audition for his first thing, and so I should do bigger. I should
Yes.
push.
Right.
It's a tiny room, and then I'm like, okay, no, that's not working. Okay, it was just, and I just wanted to crawl into a hole. It's like 30 years I've been doing this practically, and you still have those moments where just our egos are they're made of soap bubbles, and they can just burst so quickly, and I want to crawl in a hole.
I think auditioning is a no-win situation. If you do great and you don't get the part, you're miserable. If you don't do well, you're miserable. So I don't know. I don't believe. When I write and direct, I don't audition people. I just meet them. You get a sense. You can look at their work.
Right.
I don't know. Sometimes the auditioning process for me is it's so humiliating. And there's so much you don't know. Who they're making offers to, and there's you just don't know.
Well, and that is now a question I ask before I'm like, who's the offer out to already?
Right.
Am I a
Right.
backup? Although Gallivant, I knew going in the room that I was a backup because they knew they wanted a big British movie star.
Oh, I see.
But that's one where at least I knew that going in. And
But you got it.
And there's no way they're gonna go. So, yeah. So sometimes it works out.
So in the bad one, how did they say, "Thanks so much for coming in"? What was
Yeah,
their
how
send
did the
off?
date end, as Chuck Woolery would say?
They just went, okay, thanks a lot. It's great.
That's great. You're great.
And I called my agent. I said, make note of the date and time because we'll look back on this day and say, this is the one that broke Tim. This is the one that broke him in half. Actually, I was like, I don't want to do this. I'm done. I can't.
Yeah.
I cannot. I've been doing this too long.
Yeah.
And he called and got feedback, which we rarely even bother because there's no point.
Right.
There's no point. How
Yeah.
did he do? Well, did he get the job? Then you know how he did.
Yes.
And they said, well, it's not going any further. And he said, any particular reason? No, just not going further. He said, well, I got to say, he did mention the room was a little cold. And he's just like, oh, that's, yeah, I know, sorry.
I know. They don't know anything. It's like sort of, it's top secret.
But thank you for the therapy because I feel better now. It's off my chest.
It doesn't matter. It's an impossible situation. So
It is.
So we'll talk about happier things. You just got cast in a show with Carol Burnett.
I did.
Yeah,
Living
how
legend.
about
Have you met her
that?
yet?
No.
What?
Meet her on Tuesday.
Oh.
Yeah.
And were you a fan of the show?
Oh, God,
And,
yeah.
Um,
I still rip off Harvey Korman
Oh, my
any
God.
chance I get.
the best.
What person, over 40 didn't
Yeah.
grow up watching that? I love it.
Yeah,
I
and
love her.
and plus all of her the characters. Did you ever see any of her movies? She started acting later on. They were all serious films. She had
Which is something I love about her.
If you get a chance, there's a Robert Altman movie called A Wedding, and she's very good in that. Very serious role. As is another very serious film she did called Friendly Fire
Oh, Friendly Fire I saw.
with Ned Beatty.
Well, did she also do same time next year? Was
That was
Ellen
Ellen
Yeah,
Burstyn.
Ellen Burstyn. I think she did it on stage.
Maybe she did it on stage. But she was very funny. And also on the old, I remember her from the Larry Sanders Show. She came on and she was so, she was crazy funny on that and very risque. And her episode was very
So
good.
what is your character like on this?
I play her, she's a Norma Desmond type who has this beautiful home which she can no longer afford because she hasn't worked in 20 years, so she has to sell it and the young couple who buys it, the caveat is she has to live there till she dies. Much like I believe Hugh Hefner is doing in the Playboy Mansion.
Oh,
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I'm told.
Yeah.
And I am her best friend, manager, piano player, confidant, arm candy. It says arm candy. I didn't just make that part up.
so you think you're going to have to make out with her?
No, I'm gay.
Oh, you're gay.
So,
okay. Well, it's still.
So
could
you
be.
never know.
Yeah.
And it was written originally. Sorry.
You know that there's shades of like Martha Ray had something similar. This is like a very similar Hollywood theme.
Yeah,
Sometimes
and
these
I
older
think-
actors.
Older actors who have
Yeah.
sort of younger
I'm
people.
going to do that
Yeah.
Do it.
Good idea.
For God's sake.
next
it.
week.
It doesn't have to be gay. Just get some young thing to hang around. But it's what I actually really love about the character. They're letting me do him British, which
Oh, fantastic.
I can't believe they're letting me do him. I was like,
Well, it's
It's
great.
one of those things where like, I don't know, I'm going to try something.
Yeah.
And I think I had such a bad pilot season with a couple of horrible auditions. This one I was like, screw
Yeah.
it. I'm just going to go in and do what I want.
Right. You
You
And
can swear if you want here.
I can. Fuck it. I'm going to go in and do what I want. And I threw the dice and it worked. But there is something that I think they're into that is lovely, which is the dramatic side of it. Like personally, I like my comedies to be sad and my dramas to be funny. That's I think
Yes.
a little more real life situation, and I always try and infuse that in. And in talking to the director and reading an article prior to going in, and he has a long relationship with Carol Burnett, and he was talking about what an amazing dramatic actress she is. And after I got the job and talking to him, I said, this is something that really interests me, and
Right.
I would love to explore that because that I think people do want to see. You want a little yuckity yuck, and then every now you want to be, you want to be touched in a certain way. And there's a scene where he has to explain to her, Donna, we've got to sell a house. I'm picturing in my head how I hope they want to do it, and it's already beautiful. So
Yeah,
we'll
I know.
see.
See, well, that we were saying that before. When you always have to make sure you're in the right tone.
Yeah.
For for what you're doing, and it's not a.
Yeah, and we'll figure it out. I don't know.
And then how they shoot it too, but that's a. That's a
I mean, the read-throughs on the big studio read-throughs on Wednesday, so I can still get fired.
Somebody will get fired after
There's
that.
107 people showing up to that one. They just sent me the list.
Oh no!
Oh, it's like all the studio people, all the network people, I don't know. Okay, just
Why
suck it
aren't
up.
all these people in Washington? Why it takes this many people to do a pilot?
Right.
Yes.
A lot of pressure.
Not
That
at
table
all.
Did
read.
you know when you went into the audition that Carol Burnett was the lead?
Oh yeah. And I knew Amy Poehler, and I knew Amy. I don't know Amy Poehler, but I knew she was going to be in the room as well. Which, and to be honest, I did not see myself doing.
Did she laugh?
Yeah, she was.
She's a good laugher. She's an executive. I asked that because she's the executive producer of a show that I did called Welcome to Sweden. Watch how I swing. See, I'm an actor, so I swung it back to me.
Of course, back to you.
But when we did the show in Sweden, and she came to Sweden, her brother's the star of the show. She was like, "Nobody's laughing. You have to." She was telling the crew, like, "You have to laugh.
right.
Like, you have to. Everybody's working really hard."
It helps.
If I took a risk, I was like, I was testing her.
No,
Yes.
she.
She's very supportive.
Right from the get-go, like walking in.
Yeah.
Again, there's some rooms you walk into
It's
and
great,
you walk
it
into a
helps.
graveyard, and there's
Yeah.
others where they're lovely human beings. You just tell like, oh, okay, thank you.
Yes.
And we've talked about that so many times. When the set is
Yes.
open and
Oh, my God.
inviting, it creates more opportunity for
Yeah.
you all to do what you need to do.
Well, especially too when it's comedy, and it doesn't take anything just to go.
Or even
Right?
It's not that hard.
to see a guest star in the makeup trailer and go, hey, how you doing? Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
I spent, the first half of my career as a guest star.
Right.
That's the work you get. That's what was available. And it's the hardest job in show business for acting because, you got to walk in, you got to, as you all know, immediately blend into this family and hit the tone and
Right.
and do a lot of times the heavy lifting. You got the dead puppy
Yeah.
speeches. And so many times I've been on shows where the regulars just don't give you the time of day or they're too wrapped up in their own shit. And one of the things we did on Psych that we all sort of prided ourselves on was you were our guests. And it was, and people don't realize, the more comfortable you make your guests, the better they are, the better your show is.
Right.
And it's a simple, hey, how you doing? Thanks for coming. So I don't know how we got into that.
Yeah.
And we subscribe to that here with our snacks.
Yes.
No, they're
that's-
really good. I had some of the gluten-free thing in there.
Thank you.
Now, I want to ask you, you were part of the animated reboot of Woody Woodpecker. I'm a fan of Looney Tunes, but I don't know much about Woody Woodpecker.
Because it's not Looney Tunes.
Oh, it's not Looney
It's
Tunes.
not, and that's
Oh,
that's why Looney Tunes
Oh, okay.
is a Warner Brothers. company.
Okay. Woody's not
Woody
part of him?
is Universal.
What?
They were sort of rivals, and the movie's actually it's live action.
You're back at Universal.
Back for this
Theme.
one, although again we shot in Canada.
Oh.
Not even Vancouver, like an hour north in the woods, which was nice for 10 minutes. What do you mean I can't get Wi-Fi? How will I live? So Woody Woodpecker, Woody and Bugs Bunny
Yeah.
were sort of popular around the same time. If anything, Bugs Bunny was much more like Woody Woodpecker in the early days. If you think like the really old sort of pre-war World War II Bugs Bunny,
Right.
he was a crazy person. Mm-hmm. Like that was his thing. He was that crazy rabbit, and he was just a shit stirrer.
Right.
And it's later that he became a little more sophisticated, and the comedy became more sophisticated.
Right.
Woody Woodpecker, similar, like was just crazy. He was like that loco bird, and he
Frenetic.
would just yes,
Yeah.
he just I'm gonna how was that? I should have played
That was
Woody.
good. Ha
Jesus.
ha ha ha.
That's it. It's that crazy laugh. So a lot of people.
What do you mean? That's how I laughed. No,
It was a good laugh.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, so most people think it's Warner Brothers.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
Well, I apologize.
No,
but
hey.
maybe because did Mel Blanc voice them both?
He did.
Oh, okay.
For a
so-
while.
Okay,
And then,
that's why.
And then Warner Brothers put Mel Blanc
Trying
under
to save myself here.
a exclusive contract.
Right.
I see.
That's,
So what did you play in this?
In
I
Woody?
play.
Who do you play?
I play Woody's nemesis. I play the rich a-hole who.
You trying to hurt Woody?
You know, Woody's trying to hurt me, man. I'm
It's all perspective,
I'm just trying
isn't it?
Exactly, it's about me. He's the villain, not me. I'm trying to build my dream house on my land that my grandfather left me in the Pacific Northwest, which was actually the Pacific Southwest because it was Canada.
Yes.
And Woody happens to live there, and he keeps jacking my shit, man.
Uh-oh.
I'd take my estranged son with me, and along the way, there might be some father-son bonding.
Oh, boy.
There might be a little growth and friendship between Woody. I'm not going to give it away.
Somehow I think Woody ends up on top. Are you a fan of animated films?
I loved it.
Yeah, there were some great animated films this year, actually. Did you see Zootopia?
I did, yeah. I have
yeah.
12 and 14-year-old girls, so and my daughter's got the animation book, so we see a lot of that stuff. But I was a massive Warner Brothers friend. That was Sundays sitting with my dad watching Looney Tunes.
I know.
And again, so like I steal a lot from Harvey Korman and William Powell. I also steal a lot from Warner Brothers.
From Warner Brothers and Bugs Bunny.
Yep.
Yeah, they were the best. Now, and another movie I'm very curious about, I haven't seen it, called Carter and June. Now, it's by the producers of the people that did Napoleon Dynamite, which is
a shockingly un-Napoleon Dynamite movie.
Oh, it is?
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
It's not in the... That's like a quirky
Yeah, no, this is a
dramedy.
good old sort of 1970s-esque caper, shoot 'em up, funny, but...
Like a drive-in movie.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
Dirty Mary and Crazy Larry.
If you look up the poster, it's very of that ilk. I play a character named Spencer Rabbit. Speaking of rabbits, who's he is the bad guy for Morris, but not to him. They're the bad guys. He is a gay Southern strip club owning mafioso psychopath.
Is that all?
Oh, fine.
Is that all?
Yes, please. Thank you very much.
Right.
And an actor who I really admire fell out, and they called me. It was one of those, can you be in New Orleans in 2 days?
Yes.
And I said, let me look at the script, obviously. Right. And after...
See, I just go. I just answer the phone.
After reading the opening monologue, I was in.
Oh.
I called myself like I'm in. I literally read the script on the plane.
Yes.
It's like as long as I get to do this monologue on screen.
Did they keep that monologue in the movie?
Oh yeah.
With my luck,
It's
we had to cut it.
gorgeous.
It's the first thing that went.
What's that?
I said with my luck, they'd be like, "Yeah,
Sure.
it's the first thing."
Oh, we didn't. We had to trim
Usually
it.
everything
Went a different direction.
Usually I will hate saying or even doing my favorite scene because
You know it's gonna go.
inevitably I'm like, no, it's gonna.
I'm that way with takes when I watch it. I'm like, oh, that's the take they used. What the? Okay.
But can you ever tell? You can't really tell which take. Back in the day when they used film, were you working on film or was it digital?
It was film.
Back when it was film, and they did less takes.
Yeah. Oh,
Because
yeah.
it was expensive. Now they run digital, they run it forever. So I'm always, you have to be on your guard. Who the hell do you think you are?
Yeah,
And then you turn up on TMZ.
Yeah, they're there the whole time.
Yeah.
They're just running it.
Oh, yeah.
So I can't tell what take it
kind
is
of
anymore.
Point where
You can
every
tell?
now and then I can. I can, but I have also sort of had a shift in my career. I think it's a bit less neurotic and needy, where they'll say, how was it? You want another one? And I'm like, you saw it, not me.
Right.
You were watching it. Did you see what you wanted? Then,
Yes.
Because I know you're just going to cut however you want. But if there is something that specific, either a comedic moment or an emotional moment that I didn't quite get there, I'll ask for another. But you damn well better hit it if you ask for another.
I know. I've certainly done that and been wrong. But
me too.
But most times I've been right. But sometimes I'm like, yeah, that sucked. I'm so sorry. Let's go to lunch now. I know it cost everyone.
Thanks. Sorry. Oh, really? We went into Grace?
Since we talk about film, yes, that's what I was going to say. Let's do a quick. We've never done. What is Grace? Tell everyone what Grace is.
Grace period is...
Love this.
Is when
Cha-ching.
they will ask you... Technically, but they don't really have to today's. It's in the contracts that they get you. You're supposed to. You can only work a certain number of hours before they got to feed you.
Yes, for lunch.
And then if they go over that time, they call grace, where I think they get 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and then they got to pay you.
Yeah.
But then as the contracts get renegotiated,
Yeah, but it's
they
always
get a 2-hour grace.
It's always, it just is for people listening. It is a very tense time on set
Yeah.
because the actor, the crew is just like. You've heard their stomachs growl. Everyone's like literally got a foot out the door. You can smell the steaks on the grill, and then the actor goes. Timothy goes, "Hey, can I? If I could, if I could just,
I wasn't feeling that one. Can I just?"
And then they go, and then there's like the huge sigh, and then the AD goes, "All right, we're gonna call grace on this."
And then people put their equipment back down.
Yes,
and-
but
Collective
sometimes,
sighs.
sometimes I have to say it has saved my ass when we did Easy to Assemble, because that was like my web series, and it was no studio, it was just me,
Yeah.
but we were a union show, and the grace saved my ass more than once. So I got like it was my karma,
You're like, nope, sorry.
Yes, I'm being paid back. Well, Timothy, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks
What did
for
you have a favorite movie currently? What did you think about the La La Land Moonlight debacle?
Yeah.
That was fun.
That's just it. It was fun.
crazy.
It made it, I thought Jimmy Kimmel did a great job hosting. I really
Me
enjoyed
too.
it.
Me too.
Loved
it. The whole Bonnie and Clyde tie-in, Warren Beatty,
Great.
Faye
Wow,
Dunaway.
man.
Love the guy backstage not paying
Tweeting.
tweeting like I mean, that to me, we're talking about Warner Brothers,
Yeah.
like a comic. That's a comic strip.
It was
Complete
good.
debacle. The photos that surfaced yesterday. I don't know if you had a chance to see it.
No.
Oh, the photos.
Little this action going on.
There's photos of the guy
Of the
literally like looking
on his phone. Is
he, like, holding it
tweeting.
up?
Yeah, no. There's photos of people like chaos and people riveted to the stage going, what the heck is going on?
And
the
he's
guy
like
is,
this.
the guy in question is looking at his phone, oblivious. Classic comedy. It is like Peter Sellers, Clouseau, unbelievable. So it's, I don't know. It's funny. I was for La La Land. I like, but I'm happy for Moonlight.
Yeah,
It's a great story.
Did you have a favorite that didn't get acknowledged?
I
or
really
did?
liked La La Land.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the greatest movie in the world. No, but I love having just done a musical. I loved
Yeah,
it. Like,
I
come
loved
on,
it.
it's like that's.
I loved
great.
it, and I loved the production of it, and how difficult. I mean, how
man.
we know how difficult that was to shoot, and
Yes.
Yeah.
and so some of those things for me go into it. The scope of the challenges of making that movie, and the orchestra playing in the next room, and I kudos to it. It will go on forever. I think it's a bit of a phenomenon.
Yeah.
And the fact that it didn't win is fine. I think it'll
They
survive.
won some.
Yeah, it'll survive.
I'm
and
glad,
good for Moonlight.
I'm
that it
glad
won.
it didn't sweep everything because that's
Yeah.
boring to
It
me.
is boring.
Give us something you can see. Yeah.
Yeah.
But good
Yeah.
for Moonlight. Maybe
Moonlight.
maybe we'll get a recap where they could actually make a nice speech. They're so crazy in Canada.
right.
Anyway, yes.
Yeah, you can find.
What are you gonna say?
You can find Timothy on Twitter and
Yes, you
Instagram
can.
at Omundson, OMUNDSON.
It sounds like a cheerleader.
Got it.
O-M-U-N-D.
I was not a
S-O-N.
cheerleader. Look for him in his upcoming Carol Burnett pilot, Household Name.
If it gets on
I
air.
and
can't
if it gets on
wait.
air,
I
which
hope
we're
it
going to hope it
does.
does. And Gallivant, aka the greatest job of his career thus far,
True.
on Amazon.
And Netflix. It's on
thank
Netflix, too.
you. Oh, and on Netflix,
it's on
yeah.
Psych.
Thank
And
you
we didn't
very
even get to
much.
talk about Deadwood.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, okay, do I
Never-
need to stop? Okay, go.
No.
talk. Do it.
Do you want to do 2 minutes, a minute on
Yeah,
Deadwood?
man.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go
So,
Do
ahead.
it.
Go
so
ahead.
Deadwood was the
Huge
other great
fans, too, fan base of the
Oh,
show.
huge.
Unbelievable.
Including myself. You know it's good if I watched it even when I wasn't on it.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
an
That's how-
excellent show.
And things
Excellent
got
show.
better afterwards. That was a show where I originally lost the job because I was on another, like it overlapped a day and they went,
Oh,
screw it, go to the
right.
next guy. Lovely man got the job. For whatever reason, he did not work out. They called me like, can you be in so-and-so in 3 hours?
Wow.
I was like, yep.
Yep.
Showed up, Walter Hill and David Miller said, you want to be on our TV show? I'm like, yes, please. Show up tomorrow. Walked in. The scene was already blocked and lit. And I mean, I had to go, how do I do this again? Okay. Okay. Just stunning. The scene with, talked about meeting people you admire, the scene with Ian McShane, where you meet my character and Ian McShane turns to the right and goes, Rom Gare, the Scourge of Deadwood. And we have this scene, and I'm just wanting to shite myself because I'm so excited. I was such a fan of his, and he was lovely to me. And at one point, I just had to say to myself, your character, like his character, my character wanted to be him. That was the sort of the gag. Is he wanted to be this. He was the sort of New York dilettante that wanted to be this manly man. And I'm like, you're in a fucking saloon drinking pretend whiskey with Ian fucking McShane. Don't act. Just fucking say the words and just be here. And it was, oh God, so exciting. And every day on set, you're like, oh, let's find the Powers booth. Holy shit. And the actors and John Hawkes is one of my favorites.
Yes.
All the fun was great. Everybody in it. Oh, that's my Deadwood.
Beautifully done and
Lovely.
beautifully acted. It was a great show. I really liked that show a lot.
Yeah.
All right, so we got in Deadwood because I know, I mean, the rabid fans of Deadwood, more so than some of the, I know people like Westworld and stuff, but
Oh, but
you
I
know,
think
but-
Deadwood was one of the greatest television
Deadwood
programs
was
ever
great.
made.
Yeah, Deadwood was really fantastic. I like that show. I would have liked to have been on that show.
Dang it.
That of 100 other shows. All right, now I'm losing it.
Thank
All right,
you so much,
Timothy.
Timothy.
Hey, thanks for having me. Hope it didn't
Thank
bore
you. And
You can buy Illeana's book, I Blame Dennis Hopper,
Yes, you
on
can.
Amazon. It's out
You'll get a
paperback
copy.
now.
Will I?
of course.
And also, you can visit our website, Illeana'sPodcast.com.
for 20
Like us on
$25.
Facebook, find us on Twitter. Thanks for being with us.
Yes, everyone's life is a movie with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And sadly, this is the end of our show. Have
With
a
our
great
life?
day, everyone. Not the
Just
end of our
the
life.
movie.
You're God.
Just this movie.
You can. Our life does not end. You're God.
That's true.
Ha.
Thanks,
Ha
everybody.
ha ha ha.
Bye.
So,
Land with a Woody.
Producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network. We would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.